Welcome back to Spirit Squared. I'm Andrew Darrington, the host. Welcome back. We're in episode 14. We've got a great guest. We're at the Beckham Hotel. It's a great evening to have a podcast, and we've got a lot of content to cover. I want to thank a couple of our sponsors. We've got Vault Arms, we've got the Humidor, and we've got Red Construction. Thanks so much for sponsoring our podcast, and we hope to have a lot of continued success in the future. No further ado, we've got a great guest tonight, Lance McWhorter. You are the owner and operator of Culture ETX.
Correct.
As well as ETX Paddle Sports.
Right.
Yeah, so that you got a lot going on.
Yeah, that and a pro fishing career, and husband, dog father, herder of cats, like.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. So busy guy.
Yeah, always. I find after years of being just kind of a crazy person that if I stay busy, it keeps me out of trouble. So I stay very, very busy.
I can tell when you're in the kitchen for sure that there's a lot of nervous energy and just a lot of energy of everything, just kind of just going 90 to nothing.
Yeah.
And perfectionist too.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. Not that I really believe in that stuff, but a very stereotypical Virgo. Very attention to detail driven, perfectionist, borderline OCD. It's the make of what they say is the makings of a pretty decent chef is those qualities.
Right.
So trying to embody it.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, guys, we're sipping on some of the Teuila Ocho finished in Widow Jane. It's very, very good. It's got a nice balance to it, good tequila flavor, nice whiskey bourbon finish. If you see it on the shelf, definitely want to reach out and pull it off the shelf and run it through the register, please. So you just had an article done locally, it's an East Texas published publication. It described a little bit about how you've gotten here to Tyler, Texas, or to East Texas. Let's start first with your upbringing.
Yeah.
So you grew up in the Dallas area.
I was born in Dallas. Yeah,
right.
Like DFW, and my stepdad was who raised me was in the steel business in the 70s and 80s, which was kind of very crazy time for that industry. So it seemed like every 2 years he was the guy that was going to fix a plant in a different town. So we went from Dallas to where'd we go? We went to San Antonio. Then after that, we went to Houston. Then we went to Cal Allen outside of Corpus Christi.
Right.
And then after that, I think it was about 12. We rolled up to Salt Lake City, Utah, of all places.
Oh,
and
wow!
Took over their office up there. So it was a really strange kind of shift in life to go from sixth generation Texan to move to Utah, where back then in 84, 85. People are telling us that they had tails and wouldn't play with your kids, and it was this weird, it was this little weird thing. But it was actually a really cool place. It was I
love Salt Lake City.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Lived through high school there until and then went in the military after that.
But during you growing up, your one constant was Athens, right?
Yeah. Athens was where both sets of grandparents were from.
Okay.
My stepdad was born there. I had cousins, and my great uncle, who's one of my very favorite people in the world, had the family. It's an old dairy farm that had been in the family for years and years and years, and it was just always that one little constant is we'd be going to visit my grandparents, and then that would involve a trip to Athens, or or a trip out to visit Auntie so-and-so in Lufkin or Knack, or kind of these whole little East Texas towns. But as a cook, I get asked a lot what that first dish that you remember, and it was in my great grandmother's little farmhouse in Athens, standing on a bucket stirring roux,
right?
With a rusty can of bacon grease over the stove, and matches around to light the burners, and little kids stirring roux, which is like lava,
right?
And, in this little farmhouse in Athens, and that was kind of like when you grow up and really get into cooking, you learn about roux. It's not just for gumbo or
Right.
It is the base of so many different things, whether it be very light in color, very dark in color. So it was kind of like, it's funny that that's the first thing that I remembered cooking, because it's so foundational.
Right. So that became kind of the constant. You're moving around all over the place. You end up in Salt Lake City, which I've been to. It's beautiful. There's a pretty nice distillery out there
High
now,
West.
High West.
Yeah, High West is awesome.
They have a couple spots there, but their main distillery is just north of there.
Yeah.
There's some great hiking in that area too.
Yeah, hunting, fishing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all
It's
BLM
awesome.
land. I mean, so it's like Texas is kind of a trippy spot in the way that it's all private land, you know, and Utah is the exact opposite. It's all BLM, national parks, national forests, you know. So, I mean, if you want to go deer hunting, you literally just drive your truck up to the mountains and just start walking.
Right.
You know, it was really cool.
Yeah. So then you join the Army or the Navy?
Army first.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, joined the Army, artillery forward observer, and then switched services. I was trying to be a SEAL.
Yeah?
And
Okay.
I was 20, almost 21, and I was like, man, I want to be one of these SEAL guys. Like, they're pretty cool, you know. It seems like.
Now, was that a recruiter talking to you?
No,
or,
that was me.
That was you.
That was just me. And so I made the switch, and they're like, all right, when you get to this point, you're allowed to try out for it, get all that. But I was on an eyesight waiver, and which was fine. It happened all the time, but then during that time period is when President Clinton gutted special operations, and that canceled all waivers. So they're like, you're going to do a ship. So, but I wound up going to a pretty cool ship. So stationed in Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
It was a little guided missile frigate. We did, anti-piracy and vessel boarding, and just kind of cool stuff all over the Persian Gulf, and we hit so many countries. It was just it was remarkable. Out there off the coast of like Somalia and Yemen and Straits of Malacca, Straits of Hormuz, Hong Kong, and
Wow.
so like just dozens and dozens of really cool countries, Australia and all the Pacific Rim, these little island nations and territories, and
Right.
it was just enlightening, and that's kind of where I really fell in love with culture, and that's where the name came from. It's not East Texas culture. It's bringing culture to ETX.
Oh, I gotcha.
It's that worldly exposure to food and cuisine and hospitality, and combining that with those cooking lessons that I learned from my grandparents. But
Did you? I assume that you had some people on the ship that kind of helped guide you, like, hey, we're about to port here.
oh yeah,
This is what you don't do. This is what you do, and
I tended to do it anyways.
Yeah,
I was that guy.
Okay.
Like I was the one that would go out and raise hell and get in trouble and
burn through money.
Yeah, get chased through the streets of Hong Kong by they call them the White Mice, which is like the Royal Police Force, and like, started a bar brawl with some Marines or something like that, and some little, back then it was, Hong Kong was still a province of the UK, so it was a big port town, and they were so used to having us in there that they would just, they'd blow whistles and chase you around if you got into a fight or something like that. It was, but I always found myself going, kind of like doing the Anthony Bourdain thing before that was a thing. He said go to where they don't speak English, and that's where you start. And I would always kind of do that. I'd catch a cab or get on a bus, or and we just go exploring, and I
Before Uber.
Oh yeah.
And
No,
before
this
probably
was-
websites that guided
there
you,
was
5
none of that.
stars,
Yeah.
none of that stuff.
None of it. You had nothing.
Right.
There was no sort of publications that you could look at. It was just literally find a cab driver that could speak English, which there were a lot of, and they drove like maniacs, all over the world. But it was just
Find me
it was
somebody
fun.
that's cooking outside that I can see.
We'd go
That's
to
normally the
street
best one.
markets.
Yeah,
Like go or in the Middle East we'd go to the souks, and you're eating God knows what off these carts.
Yeah.
I'm still convinced that's why I can eat anything, and I have an immune system that I don't know, I could probably catch cholera and beat it. It's like and it's just from being out there and eating whatever and just drinking whatever, and a lot of times you'd be sitting there eating and drinking with people that you couldn't speak to.
Right.
And that kind of opened up like a whole new experience with eating and hospitality. Or you find yourself at somebody's house, having dinner with their family. And it was neat. It was magical, and you didn't have to be able to speak.
Right.
It was kind of cool.
Yeah, I can imagine. My wife and I went to Puerto Rico, and one of the experiences that she wanted to do was she wanted to do that chef experience, and I was expecting us to do it like in a public place. We meet her in the market at Puerto Rico, and it was amazing. Like, she's telling us, this is grown here, this is imported, and their vegetables are gigantic. It's just so humid there. And then we get done, and she's like, all right, we're walking to my house. And I was like, what? I thought we were going to just cook it there so that way, you know, it ensured her safety, our safety,
Right.
whatever. And she's, no, we're cooking at my house. And she had like this nice villa on the second floor. And she was like, here's your apron. I was like, what? I thought, I didn't know that you're going to be cutting up that and your wife's going to be cutting up this. It was awesome.
So much better.
And she made drinks for us with like little star fruits. It was just, and it was stuff that we don't eat here, mofongo and just, it was very enlightening. She made homemade ketchup, which I'd never had before, like just from tomatoes and puree and everything. It was just
ferment that stuff, kick it off, mix it all up.
It was awesome. So cool, man. Then so you get out of the military, you put in your time.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I did the tour in the Army, then finished out that tour in the Navy, and then
you get into firefighting, don't you?
Yeah. I became a firefighter. Moved back
in Salt Lake City,
moved back
right?
to Salt Lake. Yeah, and which was kind of a trip because I hadn't been there in so long, and you know, I got off the plane. It was, you know, I've been in Hawaii for a few years, and you know, get off the plane. It's January. You know, it's cold, and I don't even own a decent coat. You know, it's like I hardly owned a pair of pants. You know, it's
probably a big duffel bag or two.
Yeah, and but yeah, I moved up, and then you know, back like you said, no internet, no thing. I mean, that was kind of the early days of like where you get the AOL CD. You know, but it was still. You had the like the community or the state job department, you know, and they had their veterans guy there, and he was like, "Well, what'd you do in the military?"
Yeah, what certs did you get?
I was like, "Well, you know, I carried heavy crap and hurt people, you know." I mean, that was kind of like I was kind of a grunt guy, you know. So he's like, "Well, you could be a cop, you could be a fireman," you know. I was like, "Ain't nobody ever happy to see a cop, you know? Like everybody's happy to see a fireman, you know." I'm like, "I'm gonna try and do that, you know," and test it out. It's a huge process I mean, a lot of people don't realize how difficult it is to get on a big city fire department. I think there was like 3,500 applicants for a 2-year hiring list, and then you had to apply, take the test, get ranked by the test, then you do they do a cutoff, then you do the physical fitness test, then do a cutoff, then you do an oral board, and then they do another cutoff, and then they make this hiring list. And they hired 32 people over 2 years, so it was less than 1%. You know, it was crazy. But those veteran points, like I think 99% of the people in my fire academy were veterans.
We're vets, yeah.
So it was those extra points that helped push us up above the top. But loved it, and what a job! I mean, it was you know, exciting, and there was always something new to learn, a new qualification or you know, a new certification. You know, quickly got engineer certified where I could drive the engines in the trucks, and you know, acting captain, and you know, you can move up, become paramedic, and and I went into when I had enough seniority to get an actual bid at a station. Instead of roaming around and filling in where they need you, I was a ladder truck guy. So, so you know, up on the roof with chainsaws and
that's right up your alley.
Yeah, it's cool. You know, high angle rescue, like rope rescue.
Yeah.
Like, and we lived right there in Salt Lake, so we had that urban interface area. So you had, you know, people up climbing and cars up in canyons. We did the heavy rescue, extrication, jaws of life, all that stuff. So it was really a lot of fun.
Probably similar to military. Probably not as much action.
No, it was. I would say it was more. You know, it's like,
really?
You know, after doing kind of around the first Gulf War stuff and the anti-piracy stuff, and then, you know, in later years, which we'll hit when I was contracting overseas, you know, way more ghosts from firefighting. And a lot of that is the medical aspect. And a lot of people don't realize that in big cities is most of them are running, you know, paramedic engines where your first response, on medical calls, and the ambulance crews, they were transport. So they basically just showed up with stretchers and took
you were first on site to see deceased.
And man, that was tough. That wasn't the side of it that I was really largely prepared for. There's, you know, a lot of kids and a lot of elderly and a lot of, you know, just tragedy, you know, and so it's shout out to all the guys that are still doing it, man, because it's a tough job, you know. But it's also where, you know, as a kid, I got into cooking, but working in restaurants, just kind of trying to get by as a teenager before the military. But that's when I really kind of fell in love with cooking again. Was at the fire station. You know, we're notorious for, you know, everybody sees firefighters at the grocery store shopping, you know, cooking their own food, and they're kind of well known for being good cooks.
Working out.
And then the word got around when I was a new firefighter that I could cook. So I'd get roved out to the really good stations.
Yeah.
You know, like all the senior guys would be like, oh, we want that new guy. He can cook, you know.
So we got a free shift.
Yeah.
You're going to be over here, Station 3.
And they'd eat good, you know. Yeah. And so really kind of fell in love with the joy.
You start to see it as a tool, right? Like
or just
something that people value.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Kind of the joy of getting to feed others and getting that reaction from them and that, you know, I guess it's kind of a sense of approval too, you know, when they kind of go, hey man, you're good, you know.
Right.
And but yeah, that was kind of it. But you know, got hurt. I'd been on almost 5 years. So I was 30, almost 31. Busted my back up pretty good in a house fire, and contributory retirement system. So a lot of people don't understand this, that if people get hurt in the younger years, they get what they put into that retirement system, which isn't very much, within, you know, 4 years or so.
Did something fall on you, or?
No, it was it was actually, I lifted a big heavy box fan. We were running short. And shorthanded as always, which, you know, the truck was always the first one to lose a guy. And we had a fire with some guys kind of pinned in one side of the house. So we needed to do forced ventilation, which is these big, huge, it's like a lawnmower with a fan on it.
Okay.
You know? You're wearing all your gear, you're wearing your air pack and all that. We pulled up and, you know, my captain was just like, hey, grab the fan, go chop the door, get it fired up, go through the back, shut off utilities, and then come back up front.
Suck the air out of it.
Yeah, it just pushes it where you want it to go, you know. But man, I stepped out of the truck, it was snowing, and you know, I walked around to the back compartment, I grabbed that fan and a lantern and an axe and turned around and stepped up on the curb, and I felt my entire lower back shuffle like a deck of cards.
Oh.
You know,
just the amount of weight,
just the torque and the weight.
Yeah.
You know? And you know, stepped up, felt it, kind of stumbled, kept going, went up, chalked the door open, set that fan, angled it, fired it up.
Adrenaline then.
Yeah, went into the kitchen, busted the window out where I wanted the fan to blow out, went out the back door, shut off the gas, shut off the electricity, climbed a 6-foot fence, walked through the front yard, and then went and sat on the front bumper of the truck. Took my mask off and looked at my captain, and I said, something is wrong. You know, like I don't know what, but something's wrong. And that was the last fire I ever fought.
Wow.
But the guys and gals, talk about it, you know, a tight knit group. I was just like, after using all my sick leave, all my vacation, you know, I was probably, I think it was about a month or 6 weeks shy of hitting my 5-year to be vested in the retirement system. So they all donated their sick leave and their their time off and vacation days to me, so that I could take that vacation and get past my 5 years and be vested in the retirement system. So you know, that was the difference between a $17,000 check or $18,000 check and retirement benefits for the rest of my life. You know, which is huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I mean the injuries don't go away.
Right.
They're still. Yeah. I mean, a lot of my cooks and chefs at the restaurant will see me sometimes when it's bad, and it's almost like you can flick a switch and my legs want to stop working, and I'll kind of almost fall to the ground, you know. But
what was it? What were you diagnosed with?
Just
slip discs.
Herniated and slip discs. They wanted to do a fusion at the time, and I told them no. I just couldn't imagine bending from up here for the rest of my life. So yeah, I mean, I just kind of really focused on. I took it easy for a good year or so, you know, and then just kind of really started working on core strength and just kind of slowly rehabilitating, and yeah, I mean that kind of led me into playing music, and you know, I was playing guitar while I was rehabbing, which is something I dabbled in when I was a kid, but it's like, you know, started jamming with some friends, and then got into like a local band after I was up and on my feet.
Right.
And that wound up, I mean, I had 2 different indie record deals, and that I went and played guitar for in California. Did the Jägermeister. There's pictures of me on videos on the internet, like crazy hair and long beard. And you know, playing heavy music, and you know, I did that for a little while, and then, you know, one day I was just like, it's kind of not really my thing, you know, like I kind of missed the military, the firefighting, you know, that esprit de corps and that sense of purpose, and and you know, and just kind of figured out what I want to do next. So that's when I kind of turned to security contracting. You know, like that's it was a whole different world. You know.
Oh yeah. Let's get you rinsed out.
Yeah,
rinsed out, because we'll transit. What are you interested in?
I think after the tequila, maybe your honey.
Yeah, man.
We were talking that one up.
Yeah, man. So this is a bottle that some of the people in East Texas have tasted some of my renditions of Pull Up or the A&D recently, the honey bourbon, and those are my concoctions. Honey Smacks was the last one.
Yeah, that one was super
and
good too.
So the guy that kind of taught me how to do that is the one that did this. Ryan, shout out to you, man. You're the OG at these, and I appreciate you sharing all your scruples.
I've not had this one, but the other ones are
This one here is probably a little less honey than the other ones, but you can just taste the quality in what he does.
Is there particular honeys that you guys use? I mean, do you
mostly clover.
Do you use local?
Mostly local clover.
Okay.
Yeah, luckily I have a kid in my neighborhood whose grandmother is a beekeeper.
Oh, cool.
And he goes out and kind of like what you did in Athens, like he goes out there during the summer and she teaches him how to beekeep and they collect the honey and then he brings it back kind of like Girl Scout cookies and just says, hey, this is how much it is for this. And whenever he does, I just buy what I can.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm just like, man, this is my jam right here. Everybody loves it. I think the honey that I use is a little heavier than what Ryan uses because this infuses so well. But I've come to know East Texans have a sweet tooth.
Yeah,
and so that honey flavor, they want that. And I've even used some of mine in like iced tea.
Okay.
Just mixed it and made it kind of like a highball tea.
Yeah.
This is it's cool to have this with you because I know how much you've enjoyed it. Yeah, cheers. I know how much you enjoy it, and I saw the bottle and I was like, man, I know you'll love it because it's so good.
It's so stupid good. Well, I like the way that honey does, and I use a ton of local honey in my cooking. You know, I since day one we've used a little farm out of they're kind of down out of Jacksonville.
Josh, you want to have some of this?
Yeah. Oh, you all good. You over there slacking?
Yeah.
The cameraman is slacking.
Yeah. He's our reel guy. He creates our reels, right?
Elsner Farms.
Okay.
Megan and Isaac Elsner, and they've done my honey for me since day one, and I would love to see what their stuff would do with the batch. But it's
absolutely.
It's just like you said, it works so well with so many other ingredients, and it's so easy. Like a lot of people just see honey as such a one-dimensional thing, you know, and it's man, I love it. I mean, I love it. It goes into a lot of stuff that we cook with. I mean, we're making honey syrup out of it for the plaid rabbit for our bar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just honey's phenomenal.
I like honey and agave syrup.
Yeah,
I love those two. I use those two more than I do simple syrup. For a variety of drinks and different things like that, old fashions, I prefer honey or agave syrup. I for whatever reason, I just prefer it.
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal, and it's organic. I mean, frankly, it's better for you than just sugar,
absolutely.
Pure cane
antibodies
sugar.
and things like that. Like if you got allergies,
absolutely.
I mean, it's just especially if you're getting that really good local stuff that's the same, flora that's driving you crazy.
Yes.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, but it's great in booze, great in cooking, all that.
Yeah,
that's
all right.
That's great.
So special forces.
No,
not special forces.
No.
You're over there
contracting.
Contracting.
Like a lot of people know Blackwater, Triple Canopy, the kind of 13 hours guys, like stuff like that. Starting out in that, I mean, I started kind of my contracting era with a guy who's now deceased, really great, very instrumental person in my life, Hamp Dews.
How did you meet him? In Salt Lake City? Or?
No, I met him I actually moved back to Athens after playing music. So
okay.
I was out there just kind of bebopping around, and we got into like some shooting organizations and things and we just happened to meet each other. He's old retired Vietnam era, like special forces lieutenant colonel, like just a really cool old guy. And he had a UAV company that was proprietary UAVs. And he brought me down there to work on his flight team. And I mean, we were down there we were developing military protocols for the government using fixed wing UAVs. And I mean, this is 2008,
Okay.
So I mean, this is when UAVs are not real widespread.
Right.
There was a few different platforms that were used in the military, but we
So
were
for
developing
folks that don't
super
know
cool.
what UAV
An
is.
unmanned aerial vehicle,
Okay,
or unmanned
gotcha.
aerial systems,
Drone.
drones, and these were back, before quadcopters and
Right.
things like that. So these were fixed wing
Yeah.
aircraft, and anywhere from 3-foot wingspan to our biggest one was a 12-foot wingspan, which is pretty big plane.
Yeah.
But we were flying down on the border, and we were using principles of ground tracking and like terrain mapping software, and then aerial tracking, like old school tracking, like looking at footprints and stuff.
Oh,
like we were
okay.
doing that, and we're combining all that stuff, and we were using it in kind of counter narcotics
Okay.
situations in conjunction with like BORTAC, which is like
Right.
the special wing of the Border Patrol and things like that. So did that for a little bit, and then got on to contracting overseas and went back over to the Middle East. Spent a few years, first working for the DoD, Southern Iraq, in the State Department, Southern Iraq, like kind of on Nasiriyah, Dequar province, like kind of that same area where the whole Jessica Lynch thing went down. There's a big airfield out there that we took over, and it was kind of a base of operations and kind of a big refueling stop between Baghdad and the coast, So,
Okay.
out there doing security for those guys and, close protection, and then got onto what's known as the WIPS program, Worldwide Protective Services, which is State Department. And those are the dudes that you would see, in the black Suburbans and in the helicopters and doing close protection or like
Right.
executive protection for dignitaries.
Shuffle in, shuffle out.
Yeah, USAID workers,
Right.
Intel types, just, kind of driving people around in a high profile. Those are the Suburbans you'd see doing all this crazy driving, and then
Path of least resistance.
yeah, and then that was more like big stick. That was kind of like, like if you see the black Suburbans coming, everybody would get out of the way.
Right.
That was kind of like the dudes you didn't mess with.
You were overseas doing this?
Yeah, this is in Baghdad.
Okay,
proper.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha,
like
gotcha.
Actually, we lived in Baghdad. We drove around all the red zone, everything like that. And as civilians, but
Right.
we were
Mostly
contracted.
nationals or people flying in? Or just anybody?
We would-
right?
we would
that was
meet
marked as
Yeah,
significant. Okay.
Yeah, meeting protection. Usually people on embassy business
Yeah.
or USAID business.
And when was this?
This would be 2011,
Okay,
2010. Yeah, and yeah, got into that, and then moved up through the ranks of that, and wound up doing what was called low pro. And low pro was kind of the same, but just in a very kind of stealthy manner. It's like we had cars. Most of them were armored, but they looked like ordinary civilian cars. We didn't have that element of big stick anymore.
I see.
It wasn't. We weren't visually easily recognizable. It's like we would kind of tend to dress a little more like locals. We wouldn't have a watch on, or your radio things on the inside ear, or we wouldn't wear sunglasses when we were outside in the red and stuff like that. We would have 3-car motorcades, and we had specialized procedures to where we could split blocks off of each other and
Right.
communicate, and kind of it was low profile. It was just a little more high value
Right.
personnel that we'd be taking around, and we always had a State Department credentialed officer that was kind of had overall responsibility for the mission, but it was civilian contractors that were doing that stuff. And
Any big names?
yes,
Took around?
yeah, but-
Probably classified.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if it still is or not, so
Right.
I will say yes, but I can't say who. And there was a
Right.
bunch of people that you'd recognize, throughout the political scene and the military top brass kind of things like that. It was pretty cool, because most of them were just completely ordinary people.
Right.
We'd swing into the embassy and pick them up and take them wherever they needed to do or whatever
Right.
business they needed to do, and then get them back safe.
Right.
It was a very kind of hardcore group of people. Still very good friends with
I bet.
all those guys, and it's one of those that it's like one of those funny stories that you always tell at the bar. It's like I've never met a cook or a mechanic at the bar. When people are talking about military stuff, it's always a super sniper, SEAL recon, 5,000, whatever, and And a lot of times you'll get people being like, oh, I was, Blackwater, I was Triple Canopy, or I was this or whatever, or I was whatever, one of those guys, and you can kind of be like, yeah, no, you weren't, or somebody says that their friend was, and I'll be like,
stolen valor.
Well, I would say, let me see their Facebook,
right?
And I can look at their Facebook, and it's such a small community, of people that actually did that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe 2,500 people from like back in the actual day of doing it, and you're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 5 mutuals with that person if they actually did.
Correct.
So it's pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, that was just a fun thing. It was man, it paid great. I mean,
bet.
It was stupid money. And I don't know, it was right at the peak of it. And,
Any close calls?
Oh, lots. Yeah,
Lots.
Yeah. But you had electronic countermeasures. You had great intelligence. You had great team guys. You had people that, I mean, this is what we did was like we just watched for stuff. And the close calls, I think everybody had, but it was the funny calls that were like my favorite ones.
Oh, okay.
I was right towards the end of it when I was about to give it up, and like I was standing in a parking lot it was low pro, and there was some local like Iraqi type counterparts that were doing their thing by the gate, and we had another one of our cars kind of down across the street over here, and this dude came walking, this old guy like wearing we call them man dresses, the long dress and flip flops, and he comes walking up and he reaches in that in like his little vest man dress, and he pulls out a knife like Grim Reaper knife, and I was like, I remember keying my radio, I'm like, yo guys, this dude's got a knife though, and I'm like, I'm about to draw down on this cat, and but it just didn't feel right, like something was weird, and like my guy who was up there, he was just like, no, hold up, he's like, LN, like the local national is handling it, and the dude's talking, and he's talking, and that knife is like, and he's right next to my buddy, and I'm just sitting there like, I'm gonna drop this guy,
Right.
And then he keeps the radio. He's like, no, the guy's a gardener. He's looking for work. And I was like, bro, I just like almost smoked the whole gardener, dude. Yeah, gardener.
Look at
that's what they said that he did was he was like, look, I've got my tools.
I'm a chopper.
I'm ready to work, man. It's sharp, like ow. It was just like that was one of the funnies, and it's like, and we had a ton of those. I mean, I remember all of us, we'd sit around and it was like the Lord of the Flies kids. We pirated in booze, even though it was like totally not allowed. We'd sit out in our little compound.
Decompressing.
Which was one of Saddam's old palaces. Like we had the whole grounds. He had lakes out there. We'd go fishing in, peacock bass, like it was crazy. But yeah, we'd be sitting out there just smoking cigars and like low key sipping on some booze that we'd get from the Saudi guys, like in the green zone, all of a sudden, like the sky would just light up. And like Invasion Day. And we're like, what is going on? Tracers and like the military's lighting up and like all the civilians are lighting everything up. I'm not a sports ball guy, but I guess it was like a World Cup match or something.
Oh, okay.
And Iraq, I think, actually just got back in it and like won a game. So the whole world freaked out. It was literally just like Invasion Day, but it was funny. It's like that first initial reaction, and then you're all sitting around laughing, and they're saying, "Oh, take cover, get inside." And we're just all outside, like smoking cigars and watching the tracers fly by.
I was watching a show where the guy was like comparing, like Derek Jeter's followers on Twitter or X now, and compared it to one of the world-class soccer players.
Oh, yeah.
And how many followers they have.
It's ridiculous.
And it was like 10 million.
Yeah,
it was 2 million for Derek, and it was like 10 million for this guy.
Crazy how
we don't really comprehend the impact of football or soccer, whatever you want to call it, overseas.
It's just always going to be soccer to me. It has to be soccer. It was soccer when I played it when I was a kid.
No doubt. Just whatever you want to call it. It's a round ball. It's got different colors around it.
Kickball.
Exactly. I think it'd be fun if you just didn't have a goalie. You just rack up the score, 25 to 23. You get a lot more scoring. Yeah. And then you just like the foosball, you just throw a ball out there and they just go after it. Yeah. I don't know. That's just me.
Or put up a high fence and turn a couple of lions loose out there. You know what I mean? That'd be talk about entertaining. Gladiator fight at halftime. That's more my speed. Like I was never a sports ball guy really, but I mean I played hockey a little bit, and like when we moved to Utah, and it's You know, I dug
I
it.
love.
It was fun.
It's my
You know,
favorite
it was
sport.
fast.
It's
It
my
was
favorite
like-
sport to watch live.
Yeah, it was a blast
It's
to play.
just constant.
But like soccer to me is like big, slow hockey.
Yeah.
And it's just massive, slow hockey.
Yes.
And it's kind of like, I feel like if they'd shrink that field down just like by half,
Right.
it'd be way more entertaining.
Yeah. So, did most of your tats come from the military?
No. Well,
Or
yeah.
us?
I mean, starting out, you know, like all the normal veteran tats. You
Yeah.
know, like yeah, you know, Navy. I've got one from Hong Kong. I've got one from Darwin, Australia. I've got several from Hawaii.
I bet. Yeah.
And
Cool
then
ones.
after I got hurt, firefighting was, you know,
Right.
kind of paying homage to that. Got in there, and I always built cars and bikes, so I've got the piston and the connecting rods and, you know, motorcycles. And then I started getting into the chef stuff when I got out of that. You know.
Right.
The knuckle tats came from playing music, really.
Okay,
1605 was my last record label, so if you guys are still out there, there may be a couple of old timers still running around.
Yeah.
But that label originated with like, in the early days of it was like bands that people would know, like Head PE or Cottonmouth Kings, you know, kind of some of the, I guess if you're in kind of more of like the hardcore rock kind of stoner hop kind of music.
Grungy
you know.
type clothes.
Heavy, yeah,
Yeah.
like heavy. One band I was in was called Needlemouth, electronic, pretty heavy band, really cool.
Was there significance to those numbers?
That was it was actually the story from 1605 comes from this house on Huntington Street, Huntington Beach, California, and that's
Okay.
kind of the old hangout house.
Okay.
If you go back, and I encourage all of you guys to go look up these bands like Cottonmouth Kings, spelled with K's, like great band, and you recognize some of the songs
Okay,
when you hear
okay.
them. You know, it's just kind of that.
They were West Coast.
It was that, yeah, Orange
Okay.
County kind of real skeevy kind of hip hop rock. You know, it
Very
was
cool.
really really good. But yeah, it was 1605 Huntington Street. So I mean, that was they shot some videos at that house. You know, just a lot of history went down with that kind of crew out there. And
Cool.
that band that I was in with those guys was just called Six, just SIX.
Okay.
And that was kind of like an Orange County punk metal band. It was kind of like a heavy punk with some kind of underground like hip hop kind of
That's
influences.
cool.
You know, it was fun.
Yeah.
We did like the Jägermeister music tour and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we toured around with like Stone Sour and Shadows Fall and Lacuna Coil, and we played shows with all sorts of people. I mean, we'd run around Hollywood, hanging out with like Ivan from Five Finger Death Punch
Right.
and stuff.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You know, and In This Moment, it's a big female-led band. You know, we knew them real well. They came up in the scene with us. We played a ton of shows with those guys back in the day, and now they're just enormously
Right,
huge. You know,
right.
but it's just yeah, it was a fun little thing. But I mean, yeah, and then after that, after coming back, you know, I got
Right.
my French pig, which is like I found the art. It was like an old Victorian butcher's textbook from France,
Right.
and so it had
Yeah,
little
I
broken
think I've
down
seen
stuff.
some
It was
signs
just- yeah.
similar to that, like barbecue places
Yeah.
that kind of give you kind of a rundown.
Yeah.
But those are in French.
These are all
Yeah,
French. Yeah,
that's what I
because
thought.
I mean, I went to culinary school, classically trained, all that after coming home. But yeah, I mean, it was just hanging out in Iraq, and one day I was just kind of like everything was kind of winding down. You know,
Yeah.
it was like it wasn't quite as dangerous anymore. So they were trying to push a lot of us, old timers, so to speak, 30-somethings. They were trying to push us out because we were rowdy.
Yeah.
We were dirty. We said bad words. We
Right.
we were rough. And
What were some of the things that they did to push you out?
well, they started enacting like dress codes on the base. Like,
Yeah.
in order to go to the crappy, DFAC dining facility, you had to put on like, a collared shirt, or a polo shirt or something to go to
Right.
dinner, and then, and at the same time they're cutting pay.
Oh,
they
yeah.
start
So
cutting
they're
pay,
hitting you both sides.
and they're trying to force a lot of people out while they're bringing in people who would never have
Right.
qualified
Right.
with their backgrounds to
Yeah.
do what we do. They started bringing in people like that to kind of take over because it wasn't that hostile anymore. I mean,
Right.
it still was, but
Right.
it wasn't as bad. So they're like,
Well,
we
qualifications
don't,
changed.
So yeah, we start lowering the bar,
Yeah.
and we start lowering the pay, and the corporations start keeping more of the money and paying less, and there's a whole country full of people that are itching to sign up to go do it.
Right.
So but they
So you
couldn't
land-
before. So I was just kind of the writing was
Yeah.
on the wall that it was going away. So
So you land back in Athens. You kind of go on a tour playing music, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And then you fall into maybe hill country, right?
Yeah, hill country is kind of where I'd lived after contracting. While I was in the midst of contracting, moving back. So yeah, I was living in hill country, Bandera.
Yeah,
Cowboy capital of the world.
Yeah, man.
Crazy little town.
My grandparents are from Hondo.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, Hondo that's what moved me down. It was that first contract with the UAVs. Ask the old residents of Hondo about the spies, because that's what they used to call us. It was in the old it was like an old Budweiser, right across from the car lot,
like a beer barn.
Yeah,
like one drive through.
Yeah.
Okay.
It had the big. It was a big storage building for like a beer company.
Okay.
And it used to have big sliding cooler doors.
Yeah.
You could drive all the way through it.
Oh, yeah.
But it was right across from the street, right across 90 from the Ford dealership.
Okay.
Like on the frontage road.
Yeah, the first time I ever saw beer drive-throughs was when we visited my grandparents.
Yeah.
And it was just like, what is this?
This was one of their old storage buildings, like a big one. It was a big mass, but that was that UAV factory.
Okay.
So that's where we were working. So like, yeah, all the Hondo people said that we were a bunch of like secret squirrel spies and stuff, which we weren't, but it was funny. But that's when I was living in Bandera, and I drive to Hondo every day.
Oh, okay.
And, but yeah, Bandera, and went back and started cooking. I was just like, I'm going to be a cook.
In San Antonio, right?
Well, I started in Bandera proper.
Okay.
Yeah, there's Andrew Zimmern went there. The whatever the
he's a food.
Yeah, he does the it's not Bazaar Food.
Bazaar's food. Yeah,
it's that guy. Yeah, he actually went to the restaurant that I was at there.
What was Bazaar?
I mean, nothing. It was just a big festival, and he was like riding a longhorn freaking cow like outside of it, but it was just a regular family restaurant, It's like I came home and I decided I like, this is what I want to do. I want to cook. Still had opportunities to do other things, but that's just kind of like where my heart pushed me, and so I think I was like maybe 39, something like that, pushing 40, and just went to work. Went to work as a line cook, and
humbling there.
Yeah, it was crazy, because you go in there and you've got these people that are just like little pirates and gangsters and it was hardcore, and I knew I could cook, but I couldn't cook to that level, even of a little family restaurant at the time. It was above my head.
Prep, expo.
Yeah,
all that.
Yeah, we're doing everything. It was, grill and saute and, fry station. And it was just jumping in and learning, but thankfully the internet was around, so it's like if somebody, hey, need you to do this. And then you grab the phone, run in the walk-in, fire up YouTube real quick and go to YouTube University. Okay, I can do that, and run out and go make it, It was a trip. And, but it's kind of like, and we touched a little bit about that in that ETX View article, it's like I was a brand new cook, but I had all this life experience, and it was all like this very disciplined, very driven, like military-esque type experience, military or paramilitary experience. So leadership, attention to detail, smart. I could read a P&L, I could read a balance sheet. It's like I could do ordering, I could do inventory, I could do scheduling. It's like all these things were old hat. So like cooking was where I lacked, but everything else was, I could run the joint. And so these operators of this little family restaurant were like, "Nah, you're going to be the chef." And I'm like, all right, like, I guess this is what we're going to do, and so just jumped in. Just really, once again, get thrown in way over your head and just go. It's like failure's not an option. It's like, we're here. Right. They tapped us to do it. We're going to do it. So that kind of, I think what really helped me a lot is when I got put in charge of hiring for the kitchen, and I hired, and I'll give him a huge shout out, which is Matty, Chef Matthew Hoffman. He's still down there in the Bandera Kerrville area cooking away. He was my sous chef at 3 different restaurants. Yeah,
wow.
Dude's a madman.
You just drug him around.
Yeah, huh? And dude, like, I hired that guy, and man, I'll never forget the lady that owned that restaurant. I was going through applications. I'm like, why didn't you hire this guy? He's got a great resume. She's like, no, he's too big. I went, too big?
And he's good at eating, too.
She's like, no, he's a big dude. I was like, she's like, the kitchen's really small. And I was just like, I'm going to interview him anyway. So I brought him in, and I'm like, damn, dude, like, you're a big dude. Like, he's like 6'5", 6'6", probably, just a great big guy. And, but man, that dude was a ballerina in the kitchen. Like, I had him come do a little test shift, and I was like, you're hired. You're in, like, And that dude I learned so much from working around him, and I think we learned so much from each other. And what he taught me was like synergy in the kitchen and energy in the kitchen and just positivity and everything. And that there was more to it than just cooking and just being able to run a business. There was a very human aspect, and that may be the most important aspect of being in the restaurant business is being great at dealing with humans. And that's that kind of really set me off on a great path. And I mean, I went from running that restaurant to being number 2 at another restaurant, and then being number 1 at a restaurant that moved me out here to back to East Texas, back to Jefferson.
Yeah, Jefferson, Texas.
And that's like
that's the Texas Mardi Gras capital of the world.
Yeah, and it's awesome out there. And I mean, I remember that from family. I remember that from Christmas lights drives. Like it's just going out there with a Christmas train and all that. And it was just always one of those cities that I just loved. So
yeah, largest natural made lake is just.
It's the only
it's the only one.
Yeah, it's the only natural lake in the entire state of Texas. It's Caddo Lake, and the largest bald cypress forest in the world. It's crazy. Beautiful place. It's like Jurassic Park.
Yeah, it is.
It's
when
just
you get out there,
straight out of a book.
It kind of it's like a movie. You go out there and then you see the pads everywhere, and then fishermen have cut lines in it.
Yeah, there's little
and it's
little bayous.
I grew up most of my life. Well, not now, but most of my youth in Louisiana, and so seeing some of the swamps, and it just reminds me of home. It's very much like New Orleans feeling. Yeah, like in some of those. Not necessarily the city, but when you get out of New Orleans City, and you get into some of those towns that they're still drying their clothes with clothes hangers.
They'll drive the truck up to a lot, get in a boat, and drive home.
That's right.
I mean, it's very much like that. And I mean, a lot of people have seen Caddo, and it was an HBO vampire show. I want to say Blue Bloods, but True Blood. True Blood, yeah. Like the opening sequence of that. Like there's that old, house in the swamp with
the moss hanging down.
moss hanging in front of it. That is right across from Johnson's Ranch in Uncertain, Texas. And it used to be a speakeasy back in the day, and they did the speakeasy in there because cops didn't have boats. Right. So they'd literally drive right across the bayou and the Big Cypress Bayou, tie up right there at that little house, and they would party all night. But no, just a beautiful area. I loved it. So I kind of I was scouting my way back to East Texas. Yeah. Because it's like, I like San Antonio, I like the hill country, all that, but it's just, the hill country to me is like, everybody's like, oh, it's so beautiful,
It's rough.
And I'm like, yeah, it's beautiful from like the vista, like that 13 miles away. It's like, God, it's gorgeous. Then you get there and you're like, man, it's really gorgeous out there. And you get there and it's like, it's just caliche and scrub oak and rattlesnakes and like,
it's a desert.
It's rough. Yeah,
it's a desert.
It's rough country. Yeah. And so I wanted to come back, work my way back east. So I met some Airbnb owners there when I was kind of there scouting the town, and they wound up introducing me to a guy who wanted a bar but didn't realize you have to have a restaurant to have a bar. And so they paired me up with this dude, and we wound up opening up McGarry's.
Okay, yeah.
Out in Jefferson. It's still there.
Yeah.
Still won't, it's been through an owner or two since, but that was kind of my big life lesson in partnerships. Was, dude kind of pulled a fast one on us, so, partnered up with the dude. Restaurant was great. Everybody was loving it. We were busy. It was a little tiny place, a little brownstone original wharf building there, like on what used to be
shotgun style.
It's that 2-story. It's like, the only one left.
Like Annie's.
It's the next block towards the bayou.
Gotcha.
From Annie Skinner's.
Yeah, Annie Skinner's.
Annie Skinner's. Boy, if those walls could talk. We had a good solid year run in Jefferson, to where it was like my crew with Matt Hoffman, who I was telling you about earlier. He was my sous chef there too. And my wife Bailey, and like we were all running that restaurant, and it was just madness. And we'd get off at the restaurant, and we'd all land at Annie Skinner's, and it was just it was a wild town. It was a fun town, beautiful town. A lot of people don't realize that back in the 1800s, that was the second largest port city in Texas.
It was Dallas.
It was Jefferson. It was
the Dallas.
It was because Dallas is now like the business hub of Houston. It's kind of the same. But Galveston was number 1, and then Jefferson was number 2, and it's so far inland, it's like unreal.
Yep, a lot of logging was done out through there.
Well, they blew up that log jam in the Red River,
right,
and it receded the waters, and the railroads were behind it, because the railroads were trying to get into Jefferson to transport everything. And that they say that's the reason that even now the trains, as they blow through the center of downtown Jefferson, lay on their horns the whole way through, because they're kind of giving the middle finger all the way through town, you know, and it still goes on to this day, and it's hilarious, you know. But it's just, they went and blew up that log jam, the waters receded, and it wasn't navigable anymore. It's crazy, but they'd go from the Big Cypress Bayou, turning basin right there in Jefferson, and then go into like Caddo and hit the river and go all the way down to the coast. It's crazy, you know. So much history, and there's so much of that town still there, you know.
And there's a lot of locals there, but there's plenty of people that travel just to see Caddo Lake and want to go out there and spend a weekend just quiet. I've talked to quite a few people that have asked for places to go in East Texas, and that's one of the places I recommend.
Yeah, same.
Go out there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And like now, even doing, you know, the fishing stuff and the guided trips and all that. Like, I'll take people out there because I know it like the back of my hand. You know, I can go out there without a cell phone, without a map, without electronics or anything, and I just know my way around it. Yeah. It's a really beautiful way to see the lake is by like kayak or you know, go out for either fishing trips or photography trips. It's beautiful. If you've never go to Caddo Lake. Yes. Like
I can tell that it was a tough pill to swallow leaving there.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, that really stung. You know, that was.
And you headed back to Dallas, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at that point, it's like, you know, I'd never got to work under anybody. You know, I had a brief spell where I worked for another chef, Sydney Cook, and female chef, absolute badass. You know, it is. She taught me that there are no labels in the kitchen. There are no genders. There are those who can't. It's the last great meritocracy, like Anthony Bourdain said. Either you can do what you said you can do, or you can't. And that's what we will judge you on. Nothing else. So you know, that was kind of outside of my peer group. I had never had a teacher. And so I told my wife Bailey, I was just like, look, I love it here. This is kind of home, but what else are we gonna do here? You know, like there's nothing else. We're the only kind of real restaurant around. You know, outside of Stillwater at the time, which was a great little like classic like 80s like upscale stuff. That was just a dude and his wife. You know, so I was just like, I want to go learn. You know, I just finished. I did like an online culinary school program as an executive chef. I was going to school. You know, I was getting that classical French training. I was learning all that stuff. It was great. You know, and I just graduated, and I told her, look, I'm like, I need to go learn from somebody. I've never had that experience. You know, so I was like, Dallas. You know, it's home. I know it. I know it inside and out. You know, it's the food scene there is awesome. Right. So I'm like, let me see what we can do. That dude that I had partnered up with, he hosed us so bad we were broke. We were like, power was out in the house, like it was hot, you know. Like, and I borrowed $250 off of a buddy to go to a job interview, and went out to a job interview, and I landed a big, like, awesome executive sous chef gig for Hilton at the Hilton Anatole at a restaurant called Sear, which is, it was like S phonetic E-R, you know. 28th floor Hilton Anatole, beautiful kitchen. I mean, insane budget, insane wine collection. I mean, 15-foot floor to ceiling windows that overlook.
Like you've never experienced anything.
Quintessential like Dallas steakhouse, you know. It's phenomenal, you know. But was there for a few months, and I was like, you know, this is where chefs go to die. I was like, if I was ready to end my career, if I was. Oh, I see. You know, it's a settle. Exactly, you want to settle. Yes. Yeah. It's like if I would have stayed there, I would have never done anything else until the day that I retired. Right. And I'd had a great retirement. Yeah, sure. It was great pay. It was Cadillac, you know, benefits, matched 401k, health, travel. I mean, I could go to the Ritz-Carlton and, you know, any of the Hilton chain restaurants in the world, and, you know, like go to New York and stay for like $75 a night. You know, I mean, crazy. You know, a great vacation, easy work schedule. I mean, I had like carte blanche. It was one of 2 flagship restaurants in the Hilton chain worldwide that we had like kind of carte blanche. Like we do whatever we want. Right. But I was just like, I'm not ready for that. This is what I just left. I'm like, I just left being at the top of my game of what I could do at the time, and now I'm back in it again. And I was like, it's not.
This is after just a couple months.
Yeah, just a few months being there.
And
I was just like, I hit the realization. I'm like, this is not it.
Right.
And we got paired up through a farmer that I knew, and farm to table became something that I really, really fell in love with.
Right.
Farmer Jeff at Profound Microfarms, phenomenal little farm.
Where are they located?
They're out of, it's kind of like Allen, Melissa area, kind of
still in the same
north
area.
of Dallas. Yeah.
Right. I know I'm gonna jack it up, and he's gonna say something, but because there you got a yard master, and then you have area master or field master. I think it's field master. So he had at the end, the conclusion of his career, which he put in 40 years with the Union Pacific. His territory was New Orleans to Alexandria.
Oh wow!
So pretty big territory, and most of my probably. So we moved to Monroe, Louisiana, when I was 7. No, I was 9. And he did pretty much like a yard master, field master role. It had lots of employees, and now here I am, kind of doing the same thing where I have 65 or so employees. I'm sure he had probably 200-300 or maybe more. I don't know, but he always made me promise, like, don't go into the railroad.
Right.
But I remember as a young boy, he would take me out, of course, on crews that he knew that would be kind of gentle with me and not be too rowdy, and let me run the train. And one of my favorite memories was they would have those special trucks that had the wheels on them, and we drove across the Huey P. Long, across the Mississippi, and I remember looking over, going, "Oh my God,
that's a big
this is crazy!" And here we are on a one-way track, and what if something's coming at it? Like, we're done. And of course, he's just smiling over it. He was a big, he chewed a lot, back then, and he'd have a big chew in, and I'd just be over there paranoid. I love the sound of train. It just reminds me of those days. And then in the locomotive, you'd have this big space, and there'd be like sunflower seeds and stuff like that. But there'd always be a spittoon. Before they went smokeless, and then they went tobacco-less. Now it's both. Yeah, you can't have either.
Can't have any fun anymore, these people.
Not corporate world.
Yeah, which is what got me out of it.
Yeah. So you're in Dallas. You're after a couple months of landing, like you're basically had to come from a lot of success. You go to Dallas, and now you're
kind of back in it again.
Yeah.
I kind of just found myself at the top of corporate world, not of like restaurant land, because there was a whole other thing out there that I hadn't even really gotten to know yet.
So you start searching for spots?
Yeah, well, I just got introduced. Jeff Bednar, Profound Microfarms.
Oh, right, okay.
He, I was like one of his very first customers, like first met him, and was just starting off that relationship. And then there was a farm dinner with another organization called just Farm. It was Farmers Assisting Returning Military.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Which was, they were taking veterans and involving them in farming, in like urban farms, which is super, super cool.
Yeah.
Jeff and Steve, and they had put this thing together, and it was just and Hayat, who's like their number one like boss lady of the thing. She's incredible. I still do dinners. Like, I just did a big barbecue benefit for them, where I cooked barbecue for a whole bunch of people out in a farm in Fort Worth. But I got lined up through Jeff and through Farm to do this dinner that was supposed to happen. And that introduced me to a chef named Joel Orsini, who I owe a ton to. He's now at Parigi, a French kind of joint in Dallas.
Okay.
With Janice Provost, who's also an incredible chef. Dear lady, she's the one that's behind Meat Fight, which is the big MS benefit that goes on in Dallas.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, so I wound up meeting Joel. Joel is the sous chef of FT33.
Okay.
Legendary, which led to Matt McAllister. And I kind of started researching, I kind of started learning, and I'm like, oh, there's this whole other food thing. there's this whole other like crazy chef thing out here in the world, that I didn't even know was there. I'm like, these people are doing fermentation and making their own charcuterie and butchering whole pigs and like farmers are dropping stuff off at the door, and I'm like, oh yeah, man, okay. So
today we're gonna have this.
Yeah, I mean, and it was FT33 was like so hyper local that they put a pin in the map where the restaurant was, and they like drew a 300-mile circle. And the only reason they made that circle so big was so they could get to the ocean for fish, and so they could get to the valley for citrus. Yeah, like the seasonal citrus. Okay. It had to be in season. It had to be in that circle, or else it didn't get used. Yeah. Like doing desserts with no chocolate. Yeah. Like imagine. Yeah. Here in East Texas doing desserts with no chocolate. Like people would think you were crazy.
Well, I had one at your restaurant.
Yeah. I mean, I learned a lot.
Pistachio.
Yeah. And but anyways, got introduced. They were looking for somebody to. I mean, they had an opening as a chef de partie, which is just like a station chef. For their grill in plancha, and which was just kind of like the main entree item station. Mm-hmm. And I was like, bro, I can cook some meat, and butcher fish and do whatever. Yeah, I'm down. I want to learn. Right. So they picked. I went and I did what's called a stage. It's spelled stage, but it's French. Okay. So stage is just like an unpaid working interview, and I think I did 2 of those with them, and then they offered me a job, which was crazy. And I had to go to my wife. Dear sweet Bailey, I love you so much. Hey, babe, I'm going to give up the retirement, the travel benefits, the medical, the dental, the phenomenal paycheck,
the parachute,
the everything. Right. I'm going to give up everything to go work for this, apparent from all I can read about him, this kind of crazy madman, like mad scientist chef guy.
Let's cheers, Bailey.
Yeah, to Bailey for sure. Yeah. Oh man, I love that one. But I mean, it was just pull and pitch on life, all right, I'm gonna go be a freaking cook. Like that's it. That's all. I'm gonna go be a cook, like what I wanted to do. Yeah, dude. Definitely hit that one. That's a good one.
This one took me a year to get. Oh, yeah. The barrel did.
Oh, we were all waiting patiently for that long.
Yeah. I'm working on number 2. It's taking me some time, but I have number 2 coming. But if you knew the amount of effort it takes.
Yeah.
And patience.
Oh, it's insane.
And stuff.
Yeah.
It's so anyway, sorry.
No, all good. But no,
so you gave up the parachute.
Yeah, and went to FT33. I mean, multiple James Beard nominations, Food and Wine, Best New Chef. It was like when Thomas Keller from the French Laundry would come to Dallas, that's where he'd go eat. It was nice. It was that kind of joint. It was remarkable, and there, at that time, I'm 45, 44, and dude, these were like 20-something-year-old kids that were like fanatics, man. Like they were like the kamikaze of the Japanese Empire dudes. They were those guys, and gals, just
they're pushing the limit. They're making crazy
so
stuff.
Good.
Yeah.
And they were so fast and so accurate. Their knife cuts were just like. That's where I learned, knife skills pay the bills.
Right.
In precision. I remember Matt had this thing called mirepoix. Mirepoix is carrots, onion, celery. Mm-hmm. It's the foundation of pretty much anything French.
Right.
And then when you get into your knife cuts, you get into like a medium dice, a small dice, a brunoise, which is a pretty tiny cut of each vegetable. It has to be a perfect cube, 1/8 inch. Matt would do this thing called mirepoix, which was, perfect little cubes about this big. And you'd have about 8 different things you'd have to turn into those.
Wow.
Just for one part of one dish of the 6 dishes that you had.
Right.
Like it was just one little element. Everything's fresh. Everything's, there's nothing brought in. It's you have to. It was just crazy, and it was stressful, and it was just it was such hard work, and that's what made me. That's the restaurant that made me, and that's if I could give all the successes in my life in credit to anybody, outside of myself for putting in the work and doing it, it'd be Matt. Matt McAllister is one of the most insanely talented people that's ever picked up a knife or a pan. You know, the guy he is that chef. You know, and he's that good, and he's gone on to do so many more things outside of FD33. But man, yeah, just the learning. You know, and my station partner, got to give her the love too. Jessica Alonso, she's doing native ferments now, which is like fermentation classes, selling different fermented vegetables, and it was a lot of the things that we learned working with Matt. We're doing fermentation projects like we did, you know, doing koji and doing, you know, making our own garum, like Roman fish sauce, where, you know, you put a fish in a jar with some salt and like kick it under a cabinet for a month or so, you know, and just like, oh, that's actually good, you know. Yeah. These really ancient cooking methods. I remember we had a nuka, and nuka is like this. It's kind of like koji. It's kind of like a live biological little festival of goodness that turns whatever you put into it into pickles.
Okay.
It's kind of like kimchi.
Kimchi,
but on
that's exactly what I was
but on like a singular plane. You know,
okay.
Outside of how you usually start with rice or with barley or with a single grain. So we had this nuka, and Jess and I called it our baby. It was our little nuka baby, and we loved it, and we petted it, and we fed it, and you know, you burp it, and it stinks, and it's like, you know. But yeah, I mean, getting into learning stuff like that was just phenomenal. And it was the first time that I ever had, and this is the most valuable lesson that I teach to any cook that's ever worked for me. I worked really hard to develop the ability to understand someone else's palate. You know, and like,
I can appreciate that for sure.
It's really tough to do. You know, it's like the other side of it is learning how to plate how somebody else plates.
Right.
Matt was left-handed, so when I got to the point where he finally trusted me to let me touch plates, and plate up, I would flip the plate upside down, and I would plate upside down,
right,
and then I'd spin it back around. You know,
here you go.
Because I couldn't think that way, and I've got out of the, I think on the line now, I think I've got 3 left-handed chefs.
Wow.
And I had to teach them to do the exact same thing. Cut steaks backwards, you know, and then flip them around, then go on the plate, then turn the plate, you know. But it's fascinating, all the little things like that.
And eye dominance probably plays some role in that too, right?
Oh yeah, just style, and I mean, just it's there's so much that goes into it. It's 4D art. I mean, it's beautiful, but you get to eat it. You know, it's like you see it, you smell it, you touch it, you taste it.
We have the same thing go down when we do barrel samplings.
Totally,
I mean, you've got 3 to 4 people, sometimes 5 to 6 girls tasting a barrel, and some of the people that I'm probably like in like 30 or 35 barrel picks now.
Wow.
And
you guys do such good ones.
And we try our best.
So good.
It's here's the thing, and you may not know it well. We don't have the forum to talk about this, and you definitely don't want to post it on Facebook.
Right.
Like, oh, well, you know, this is, because nobody likes anybody that's just saying, oh, this is what we do, you know, this, that, and the other.
Well, but here's it's kind of proprietary.
Here's a great forum to do it. So, out of the probably 20 people that I've done barrel picks with, there's probably 10 that I've done multiple barrel picks with, and there's probably 5 that I've done 10 or more with.
Right.
And those 5 are similar to what you're saying is, I know what they like. I know what their palate's like.
I know what they taste. Yeah.
And they probably know mine too. And they know what my tendencies are, and they know what I gravitate to. And for me, I like some earthiness. I like some depth. I want more than one layer. I don't want it to be thin. It needs to have like some barrel taste to it.
Right.
And it needs to have a nice finish. You know, not anything just like eons and eons, but just something that tastes good and that stays with you than more than just a couple seconds.
Yeah, for sure.
So they all know that, and many of them share the same like feelings about it. So every barrel pick almost has this one thing that we have to challenge ourselves with as pickers, because in most barrel picks you have 200 bottles or so roughly. Sometimes it's 150, sometimes it's 200, sometimes it's 100, but most part it's like 150 to 200, somewhere in that zone. And each bottle is X amount of dollars. Let's just put a dollar value of 100.
Right.
So if it's 150, that's a $15,000 decision.
Yeah.
That's a lot of, and then we don't have insurance. There's no insurance on if the group just says, well, we're just gonna pass on this one.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, for sure.
But
you guys have built up that.
correct.
Yeah,
The group has picked a
Yeah.
phenomenal amount of really good, and so. But
to the point of where it's tough.
Just so you know, there's always. This is what I appreciate about our group. There's always one question that's asked. Almost not every barrel pick, because some barrel picks are just like we know. Like you taste it and you're like, hands down, this is it. This is the best.
This is sexy ones. Those are the strippers. Yeah.
Well, it's the ones where you go, okay. This one's in the friend zone, but this is a banger, right? And this is unique to the product and the label, and it's just something that you would never guess was coming out of this distillery. Right. And so then it's like, do you want to play it safe, or do you want to have this unique barrel experience? And kudos to the admin team, because they almost always pick the unique experience. And that's what you're experiencing is they don't play it safe. There are chances taken, and you're experiencing that. You're experiencing a very experienced team that takes chances and doesn't play it safe.
It sounds exactly like my restaurant.
Well, absolutely, 100%.
And that's it. And it's being bold, and it's being true and creating identity for yourself.
So 2019, you come from this crazy experience in Dallas, and then in 2019 you make the jump to Tyler, right?
I mean, dude, being an FT33 kid, or an FT33 baby, as a lot of us said, was that was to come from good stock. That was good lineage. That was kind of like you had in the Dallas food scene, which at the time, 2018, we were named, the best food city in America by I think it was Food and Wine, or it was or Bon Appetit, or one of those big magazines was like, this is the town. This is the scene right here, and I'm right in the middle of it, and I've got this, this little, not an award, but I've kind of earned this little spot in there, and I've always been really good at networking and talking and meeting people and knowing people and supporting people, and there's a big food festival in Dallas. Iris Midler puts on. It's called Chefs Are Farmers, and I think it's like my 7th year of participating, and it just happened. We do it every year. We're in the VIP, but she gave me a really good compliment on Facebook. It's been a month or two ago. She's just like, you're always just very supportive of everybody. And I've just always kind of been like that, because I appreciate everybody, and I appreciate their knowledge and their passion and their view, and like their take and their creativity, and so I networked and I got to know these people, and I won the support and the love of these people, and I think one of the last Chefs Are Farmers that I did in Dallas when we lived there was people walking up to me, and it seemed like it was people with just these humongous checkbooks going, ready?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, no. Well, yeah. I was back in that, after only a couple of years.
Yeah.
When I went and I did this experiment, where I'm just gonna quit doing what I do. I'm gonna go be a skivvy line cook for a few years. I was back at it again, and I was left with that decision. Do I do this? Do I not? And I'm kind of like, I don't know. And if I don't know, then the answer's got to be no. It's got to kind of be an okay. If not here, where? If not this, what? So talked with Bailey about it. Obviously, and she was kind of like, she kind of was missing a little bit of rural again, and so we kind of started saying, all right, well, let's go back to Jefferson. And we're like, all right, Jefferson's not really viable. It really, unless you own property there or something like that, it's not really financially viable.
Limited.
Pay a lease. It's very tourist driven, things like that. Then I was like, maybe Marshall, Longview. I really like those towns too.
Yeah.
also kind of same. Longview really wasn't quite on its rebound yet in 2018. Then we met a guy, Michael Ross. He was the PR guy out at Keepersall Winery there in Tyler. He had invited me out to come tour the winery and the salt kitchen that they have out there. It was a really dope exhibition kitchen.
Yeah.
I had just gotten done filming.
That's badass area.
Chopped. Yeah. And so the word had kind of gotten out that I had filmed it. And so Michael invited us out. And man, I'll be damned if Michael didn't talk us into Tyler. You know, or talk Bailey into Tyler. You know, like I just always remembered Tyler as being, you know, it was the big town when I'd go visit my Granny Winnie, or you know, like if she'd take me into town to, you know, get marbles, army men, and models. You know, it's like we were going to Tyler and going to the Five and Dime, which used to be behind where my bar is now.
Yeah.
Tyler was just always kind of stodgy. You know, it was always just kind of, when I was living in Athens, you know, 2008-ish, you know, it was still dry. It was still super. I mean, you couldn't buy beer there. You had to drive straight through to Kilgore. You know, it was like
Coffee City.
Yeah. So or what was it?
Winona.
Not Maybank on the what?
Oh,
Cedar Creek or Murchison.
Gun Barrel City. Gun Barrel City.
Right south of there. I think it's Murchison or Maybank.
Yeah.
But that little town out there on the south end of Cedar Creek Lake. Like we drive there to buy beer and booze. But yeah, in Gun Barrel for sure, because that's where the closest bar and concert venue was. Was up there. And so Tyler just really wasn't even on my radar. Like it was just like, like they still don't like people dancing in Tyler, you know, like it was just that kind. It was kind of the footloose town, you know.
Right.
You know, like but we went there and we visited, and Michael was just like, nah, man. He's like, it's changed, like it's growing, you know. Like we got a couple of breweries inside the loop, even, you know. And I'm like, what? You know, like, and so, you know, we talked about it, and we were like, all right, cool, yeah, like Tyler, you know. It's like I always liked the town. I mean, I knew it really well.
Sure.
But yeah, so we figured we'd come out here and we'd give it a whack, you know. We kind of had a place in mind when we moved out here. We've been talking with some people. We kind of had dibs on the building that it's a Mexican joint, Hobbies.
Oh, okay, down
the
there.
big place on the pond.
Ooh, that'd been a lot to manage.
Well, at the time, my wife, who haven't really talked about it enough, she's a really, really well-known barbecue pitmaster.
Okay.
One of the very few female barbecue pitmasters in Texas barbecue, and she is badass at what she does. You know, like she was at Lockhart. She was the original pitmaster of Brisket Love.
Okay.
She was at Joseph's Riverport, another Texas Monthly Top 50 joint out in Jefferson. I mean, she is really good at what she does. So that was kind of thinking like we'd have her barbecue restaurant up front, we'd have my restaurant out the back, we'd share a kitchen, share expenses, you know.
Yeah.
Double whammy, you know. And but the more we kind of started looking deeper and deeper into that property, the more and more we fell out of love with it. Like it was just laid out weird. Like it was just kind of like this weird little upstairs part. And the kitchen was strange, and it was laid out really strange. So we kind of backed off of that, and then we were just sitting around, and we were just kind of looking. She was opening up Brisket Love at the time. Okay. And man, this little spot popped open on the square. You know, like I'd been there a couple of times. It was a little pizza joint for like 4 or 5 months. We knew one of the partners, Joseph, if I remember correctly, was his name. He's got Pietro's out in Marshall. Okay. Dope little Italian joint. Yeah. Great wine list. I mean, I think, and I'm challenging him over the next year because I think he's got the only single glass wine spectator award in all of East Texas. Oh wow! Which is an accomplishment. I mean, that's like 90 plus labels. Like, and I mean, he's like he may even have 2 now. The dude is an incredible wine collector, and I mean, I met him when I was at McGarry's. He'd come up there and come eat. We'd go down there and eat. Just really good at what he did, but great wine collection. So that's what we're chasing now. Is we're chasing that wine spectator, trying to get up to that level, you know. But he had partnered up with a guy who also I'm really good friends with now, and that partnership just did not work. Yeah. So they were 5 or 6 months in and shuttered it. So I saw the paper go up in the window, and I saw the realtor sign go up, and I just I knew there was already 10 offers on it by the time I got a hold of the guy. The guy at the time, Martin Hines, million thank yous to Martin Hines and Clint Childs, Martin Hines Real Estate. He was the mayor at the time.
Okay.
I told him my story. I told him my dream. I told him my vision. I told him what I could do in that little former Subway sandwich joint with a giant pizza oven stuck in it.
Making an Anthony Bourdain promise.
Yeah. Well, I got it on. I got the keys to it on Anthony Bourdain Day.
Yeah, that's
pure luck.
Yeah,
like pure luck. June 25th. 2019. Martin put the keys in my hand. He didn't know it was Anthony Bourdain Day. I did.
Yeah.
But he called me. He's like, "Hey, come down and get him."
Sweet.
And but yeah, I mean, it was one of those things to where a lot of people don't realize when you're doing something like a restaurant, like how competitive it is, just to get the space.
Yeah.
It's there's a lot of bids on them usually, and you have to have that story and you have to have that business acumen. And a lot of people just go into it thinking, like, I'm a great cook. I just need a place. I'm gonna go rent it. I'm gonna start cooking. I'm good.
Like writing a letter for a bid for a house.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's but you just have to be able to show that property owner that you are the one that they should rent it to. There can be somebody, especially if you're somebody that's new,
right?
That doesn't have any history. Like I had no commercial history. I had, this is just me. Just some random dude. But I told him my story. And that's where that. I tell my cooks all the time is like have that elevator pitch. What's an elevator pitch?
Right.
Elevator pitch is you're a screenwriter, you're in Las Vegas, the elevator doors open up, George Lucas is on the elevator.
Right.
You have 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Don't be too pushy, don't be under pushy.
Right.
Get your point across, don't get it too far across. It's like
sure.
but it's developed that, and he believed in me. God, I don't know why.
Well, I know why now.
But
I mean, I see what you do.
I mean, now, but I didn't even know what I could do then. It's like I had no idea. All I knew is I had a very small amount of money.
Yeah.
I had a lot of drive. I feel like I had a lot of talent at that point. I was coming off of a very high point in my culinary life, and I was just like, let's go for it. It's I had $25,000. That's it. Open a business with $25,000. The day that we opened, I had $92 left in the checking account.
Jeez.
The day. And we were open for lunch only that week.
Wow.
Payday was Friday.
Right.
I just tell people don't do this. Or do,
right.
It's those are the risks that you have to be willing to take in order to accomplish your dreams sometimes.
Right.
It's just being able to just, I watched some stupid movie years ago, and I think, what was his name? Weird Science Kid, 16 Candles, Anthony Michael Hall.
Okay, yeah.
But it was some stupid movie where he was like an actor learning to play a fighter pilot, or it was some terrible movie. But the fighter pilot told him, he's like, look, man, you can't fly the damn plane if you got one hand on the ejector lever.
Right.
Or ejector seat lever. You just can't. You can't do everything that needs to be done if you're scared and thinking that you're going to have to bail out.
Right.
Either do it or don't. So I mean, it's like if you get that opportunity, do it. But just be prepared to invest your entire life into it. And everything you've got and back it up. Especially if you're in a town that is kind of foreign to you.
Yeah.
I'm not your stereotypical Tyler resident,
right?
And that's cool. I mean, there's a lot of us now that are.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of 30-something, 40-something-year-olds.
There's a lot of folks that are moving from Dallas that are trying to get out of the hustle and bustle, but also want that urban vibe, that the newer things and the cutting edge and all that.
They're used to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's just they've got a taste for it.
And speaking of, so you guys get through a really, really hard patch in COVID.
Oh God,
it was super hard. And then
that was crazy. Yeah.
Then during that process, did you come up with Plaid Rabbit then?
No. Man, yeah. I mean, but like COVID and all that. That was, 6 months.
It's like a blur. It was to me.
It was 6 months after we opened.
Yeah.
It was insane, and it was like they touched on that in the story too. It's like we my Chopped episode came out finally.
Yes.
Which was huge. Early 2020. then the week after that was Koshan 555.
Koshan, yeah,
Huge national level deal. I mean, like this heritage pork fine dining, like wine pairing, full animal butchery, like national scale. It's a huge win.
Yeah.
First person in East Texas to ever win that for sure. You know, like and then COVID. You know, it's like I think they even said it in the magazine. It was just like, it was 2020 is going to be our year, babe.
Right.
2020 was not their year.
That's why I was trying to skim over.
Like I read it in that voice when 2020 was not their year.
Right. I was trying my best to. You had great successes in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay.
And we were like, my business was just like humming at that point, and then COVID happens, and then the checks start coming, and so that was awesome. Like we set records and this, that, and the other, because all these people had this passive income that they weren't used to having, and so they're just buying up as much as they can because they're worried that it won't be there anymore. So shelves are empty and this, that, and the other, and then next thing you know, you can't get anything because
it's amazing how that money had the opposite effect of what it was intended to do.
Right.
Instead of keeping people alive, it kicked off the ultimate period of consumerism probably in my lifetime.
Yeah.
That's the reason that a bass boat's $110,000 right now.
Right.
Or a truck is $100,000 right now.
Golf carts 10, 11,000.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's
and
nuts.
it's all because of that.
Yep.
It's not to go down some socio-political economical wormhole, which we could spend like an entire week talking about, but it's a mess.
Yeah.
And we've been suffering through that ever since. I mean, it has not gotten better.
Yeah.
Through 2023, like price hikes, insurance.
Yeah.
Any way that the world, or especially the large corporations that control everything, can put the thumb screws to you. They started doing post-COVID. Insurance, biggest scam in the world. I pay probably $20,000 in insurance every year just for the sake of having a restaurant at the bar.
That's right.
No claims, no nothing, no.
That's right.
Fine dining, like it's not like a bruiser bare knuckle pool hall, like nice place, 20 grand.
Right.
It's nuts.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, we dug through it. We made it through it. Thank God.
Yeah. Cheers to COVID. I'll cheers that because I had different heartburns. It was just different heartburns, and I mean I was thankfully never at risk of like losing house and home or even a life. Thankfully, but many people did. Many people had home, their livelihood, their job. Their family members.
I
had friends of mine that were younger than me hospitalized.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell is going on here? And many of them had prior conditions.
Yeah.
So it just exploited that to a certain degree. And so, I mean, we can rant, like you said, we can go on and on. All right, talk to me about Plaid Rabbit, because Plaid Rabbit is something that Tyler...
It's cool, man.
Man, I love it. I love it.
So
I'm going to let you talk about it.
Yeah, had Culture ETX, cultureetx.com, great food, global, kind of based on my world travels.
Yep.
But so the restaurant was just crushing. I mean, it was doing really, really well, despite all the madness. But, didn't have any money when I opened it up. So BYOB for the first 2 years.
We enjoyed it.
Which was cool. I mean, it was nice. Like, I would have loved to have had that money.
Right.
That revenue from selling booze, but it's just like something that you got to realize that you may not be able to do. And if you have to work your way up to it, do it. It worked for us. I mean, we've got a great wine program now. We've got a great beer program. We've got some great booze in the back. But, we worked our way up over a couple of years. In this tiny little space, 1,500 square foot.
Yes.
We didn't have room for a bar if we wanted one.
Right.
So I got my wine and beer license, and that kind of helped kick it up and get it going. And that made the revenue a little more, not super successful by any means, but we weren't living payroll to. I always say instead of paycheck to paycheck. As a business owner, it's payroll to payroll because it's other people's checks. I still haven't written myself one.
Right.
But we finally got our wine and beer. Did that for about a year, and we really wanted. I always wanted a speakeasy, like a true traditional speakeasy.
It is as true as it gets.
But we didn't have anywhere to go. You know, so Martin Hines, my landlord, his wife has the Balance Pilates studio next door.
Okay.
So we were talking about, I'm like, man, maybe like where my little cash registers are, like if I could go through the wall there and like maybe take half of that downstairs of her little studio. Like, we could split it, you know, I could have this little thing over there. And he was kind of like, oh yeah, I can kind of see that. You know, he's like, you know, well, let me see if I can make the pitch and do whatever. And the space behind me, which was the actual back third of my building, that had been a loft for like a little 2-story apartment in that room for like 15 years. Some dude lived there before. I met him in the bar like 2 months ago, which is kind of trippy. He's like, yeah, I lived here like back in college, you know. And but there was a lady that lived back there. She lived there for 9 years, you know. She had this little dog that would terrorize everybody if they walked by because it was a glass door to the street. And that dog would bang on the glass, scare the hell out of people. But we never thought she'd ever leave, ever. That was just, she just lived there. That was her spot, you know. But man, lo and behold, it was, I guess, 21, and yeah, it was like December of 2021. She turned in her notice. And, you know.
Probably had family that wanted to move closer.
Well, I think she wound up getting married or something and getting a house. And, like, she's off living her dream, you know. And, so there's that spot.
And then sprouts Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, you know, Martin and I are Clint are right in the middle of talking about trying to snag a piece of his wife's Pilates studio, and then the back of the building opens up, and we're like, well, we're taking it, you know, obviously. So how do we take this super tiny space and make it cool, just like the restaurant? It's so undersized. It's like many.
But I mean, that's what makes it so great. You know? It's like dark. And then you know the process of getting in there. All your employees get it. They get it. They're like, hey, you gotta give me the passcode. You gotta get on your Facebook page to get the passcode, which I think is clever. And then
what fun would it be if we didn't play along?
Yes,
you know,
and then they're knocking at the door. And you know it's an experience.
It's cool.
It's like
then every time a new group comes in, you hear
and then
the door opens
and people walk in. You're like, whoa, wait a minute! and I cannot tell you how many times I've been in there and seen people that I haven't seen in a minute. And you immediately stand up and you're just happy that they're there. Because the space it doesn't fit many.
No, it fits like 40.
That's what I was thinking.
45. Yeah.
Right. And so out of all of Tyler, you have this 1 or 2, 3 people that maybe you've met at. We had a dinner at your restaurant. So there was maybe like 16 to 20 people there. And one of them walks in with their wife. I get to introduce my wife. They've already met before, but they don't interact as much. And I'm, you know, hey man, you gotta taste the Paloma, you have to taste this. You have to, this drink right
all
here.
All these craft cocktails, like legit, like big city craft cocktails.
Absolutely, and the ambiance is amazing. You've got smoked,
smoked old fashions, we've got rum old fashions, we've got a dopes. I mean, like even the boozes, like it's not a Jack Daniels bar, it's not a Crown Royal bar, we don't have it. It's like the vibe of it was taken from the restaurant. It's like we're going to get the best ingredients we can get our hands on. We're going to treat them with a lot of love, a lot of respect, a lot of creativity.
And you even have a side door for smokers.
So
I mean, like, hey, look, if you want to smoke, go ahead.
I've actually got tables to go outside.
Oh, cool.
But I just haven't done that yet, just because of staffing and kind of getting our feet out from under us and learning, you know. But I've got ropes and seating to go outside too. But
and the other thing I've noticed about your group is that you've got people that I've seen season over season. You know, they love it. They like how just in the Plaid Rabbit, it's the same couple folks. They're there, they enjoy it. And the other thing that I think is fun is, I know you do it in your restaurant because you like to push the limits, you like to try different things, but they do it too there. I mean, if I tell them, I know my wife, you know, she was like, hey, can you make this but this way?
You bet.
And they're like, do you want this in it? And they'll add a flour to it just to make it. Oh, well, we understand you're kind of wanting to make something special. We'll add this to it. And it's something she didn't order, but she knows, oh, well, hold on, I
Well,
got a
they're
flower
working-
petal. It was a
yeah.
flower petal.
And they're
you know?
working on cool things all the time. Like
Yeah.
I got them the equipment. You know, it's just
Right.
like the culinary guys up front. You know, they have sous vide heads and immersion circulators and induction burners and dehydrators and ISI canisters and reverse spherification, and like they can make caviar and they can make little jellies, or they can make, like, I have all that stuff for them. It's at their disposal.
So cool, man.
You know, and it's just like investing in the equipment for your crew to be successful, and it's all the things that we do culinarily can absolutely cross over.
Yeah.
You know, and that goes back to like Matt McAllister. Like I learned what attention to detail can do to a food program, and their bar program was James Beard nominated.
Yeah.
You know, like
I
they
can
were
imagine.
working 9 months out of the year in the bar at FT33 with no fresh citrus. Bend your brain around that.
Wow.
We had to get it
Dehydrated.
We had to get it in crates during that 3-month window that we could get lemons and limes and oranges and whatever we could get out of South Texas, not from Mexico or wherever, or California or Florida, what we could grow in that 300-mile circle, and preserve it, and dry it, save it, powder it, you know, like, it was nuts, you know, ferment it, you know, it's just, so, but they don't have those stipulations, but they have the same access to that kind of equipment and those techniques, and just that kind of underlying vision that goes under, you know, everything that we do, from homemade pastas to homemade syrups and shrubs and things that go into cocktails, you know, and garnishes, and, you know, people are buying bags of dehydrated stuff, and like our bartenders are thin slicing and candying and cooking down and dehydrating, and everything that goes on those drinks, those bartenders are making.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like, and we're rotating through a couple now. You know, they're moving on to the next stages of their career. Some of them are going into like KJ is going into the alcohol rep.
Oh, okay.
World, into the wholesale side of things. So, you know, it's
that's not an easy world.
It's cool, yeah. But it's cool to watch people grow, and watch them kind of take off, and kind of help push them up into that next phase. You know, it's like all of my chefs now. I mean, just about all of them have been with me over a year or more.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, I mean, it's like saying something in the restaurant world.
Absolutely.
Especially in a city like Tyler, because it's really tough.
Yeah.
There are no FD33s or you know, Machalayos or Lucias or places that we can draw, you know, really talented people from. We take these young cooks and from, you know, chain restaurants or little family restaurants or, you know, Cheddar's or whatever, you know, and then we teach them and we grow them, you know, like we don't have any network to get those people from. So, and the bar's the same way. So, I mean, it's like we just try and grow them and inspire them. You know, on the cocktail side, we've had a ton of great influence with Ebby Kurian, a phenomenal mixologist who's really put a lot of heart and work into dreaming up a lot of the cocktail side of things and teaching those guys like how to kind of manipulate things on a level that I don't even know, because it's like I'm not a bartender, you know. It's like I'm a cook, you know. It's a lot of it kind of plays hand in hand, but no, it's,
and I think
really
Shannon
remarkable.
Hood's got something.
Shannon, we're doing something.
Some whiskey stuff.
We're gonna do 3 or 4, maybe 5 of them this year. Oh God, what does she call her thing? Uncommon pours or poorly educated? Poorly educated. That's it.
I was letting you walk through it because sometimes like
I'll sound it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, poorly educated. Shannon Hood, phenomenal. One of our absolute.
Yeah, she's been on before. She was like our second or third guest.
I would hope so.
Yeah, man. She came in with these medallions and everything, and then so what was funny was. I was like, Shannon, how do you want me to introduce you? And she's got all these accolades. And I'm like, okay. And so I was like, and we had to take it like 6 times because I was just like screwing it up every time because she's got so many accolades and different, like, you know, I'm the master of this type of thing. And I've got
it's like a court of sommeliers for bourbon.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
But we'll do another event with her. I think the first one this year that we're kicking off is going to be, I think it's the 21st or 22nd of this month of February. And then we've got another one, I think, in March scheduled. And the next one maybe June.
I'll look forward to that.
We're going to have a lot of them.
Yeah.
And they're going to be...
It'll be on your Facebook page, your website.
Everything's social media. It'll be on Culture ETX. It'll be on... Look up the Plaid Rabbit ETX.
Cool.
Social media, you need that for the password anyways.
Yeah. We'll
do
probably
the passphrase.
once we put the podcast up, we'll probably just tack it on.
Yeah, there you go.
That way everybody knows how to go to it.
Yeah, go
get that password.
Yeah, go hit that up. Get the passphrase.
Yeah.
It's usually the most recent Alice in Wonderland post. I'm toying with another book for this year.
Okay,
I don't know
cool.
which yet, but just keep an eye. Classes will go up. We're gonna have some like kind of manufacturers events
Sweet.
from hopefully the distilling side as well as the winemaking side. Some pairings, some tastings.
Sounds fun.
What else? We do East Texas Whiskey Club.
Yeah.
Obviously, whenever we do tasting menu dinners,
I love those.
those
man.
are phenomenal.
So good. I love the fact that
yeah.
you, first off, in your restaurant, just so people know, when you come in and you sit down and you can watch everything be prepared.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is
completely
awesome.
open.
Like,
yeah.
There's not many restaurants that I've dined in that you can watch everything happen. And then on those tasting dinners, other than the food and obviously the drinks that we're getting to share,
the
is
long table.
You coming from behind the grill, and you saying this is what we prepared for you,
story,
almost like a Food Network series being filmed there. You know, like, hey, I've made for you, fried quail on this, that, and the other. And it's like, wow,
Well, there's thought. It's not accidental. There's thought that goes into it. Like you guys always get me little tasters and things. So it's like we're talking, we're figuring out how we want to organize bourbons or what goes with what or what order we want things to go into.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as live things go, it'll get messed up and one will get flipped around and you got to swim it. And it's just a blast, and we'll switch dishes around to match with how you guys are pouring. But you get to watch it live. It is open kitchen.
It's awesome.
It's hardcore cooking.
Yeah, it is.
There's no microwaves going ding. There's nothing coming frozen out of bags. Everything's fresh. Most things are everything we can get local. We get local.
Right.
You've got chefs preparing your food, and you can watch them do it.
Yeah.
There's a giant pizza oven that we
Absolutely.
inherited.
Yep.
That we treat like a big broiler. Everything else comes off of. I've got a 6-burner stove. One of them has a pasta pot on it at all times.
Yep.
So I've got 5 burners.
Right.
I've got one more burner than you have in your house.
Yeah.
To cook for 80, 90 of my closest friends every night. It's badass.
It is.
And like when you and
it's something to watch.
My guys and gals are going on the back line.
And you got the plating station,
and then I'm
so you can just
right up there in the front. Yeah.
you can kind of see everybody else.
Like for me to you, if you're sitting at table 32, which is the one right in front of the passage,
right there.
literally for me.
That's where we sat last time.
Yeah, it's
and
awesome.
we watched everybody's food come out, including ours. And look, man, if you have an opportunity to get, there's an appetizer that you have that has warm fig in it.
Oh, the burrata. Yeah,
man,
it's got like fig jam, or when we can get them fresh.
Mozzarella.
Burrata. And it's got
stupid.
It's got sopressata salami on it.
Yes.
Olive
bread.
oil. Yeah.
It's got a little bit of everything. And my wife and I are just smitten with that one.
Yeah.
It's just nuts.
That one is like.
That gets you started.
That's a straight up Tyler appetizer right there. Like
and
cheese and bread
and the no-bake
sweet.
And the no-bake cheesecake with pistachio crust.
Pistachio brittle.
Man, it's just crazy, man.
That one, I missed. It was right before Christmas this year, and I missed my memos. She would always make either peanut or pecan brittle.
Yeah.
Right before Christmas, and it was just something popped in my head this year, and I was just like, man,
it's so good.
I'm like, I miss her brittle, and then me and my garde manger chef Caleb DeBose, I was like, man, you and I have never made brittle anything in our lives. Like, we're gonna figure this out. I'm like, I've got a dope cheesecake recipe that I think will go. Like, we can make some tweaks on it. It'll go well with this dish. But like, we sat and we messed with that brittle for 2, 3, 4 days until we got it to where we wanted it.
It's good for people that like a sweet, and there's great for people like for me. I don't like a lot of sweet.
Yeah, same.
But it's still the same. It's so good, so good.
It's you're eating dessert, but it's not like. But it doesn't just smack you down the head. The apple pie is like that. It's but my mama would be like, it's not about the pie. It's about the apple. It's like it's way more of like a tart. It's not all syrupy and heavy. And then chocolate mousse, same thing. That's the same base chocolate mousse recipe that I came up with, man, like almost 10 years ago. after playing with chocolate mousse for a while. And then I made that same chocolate mousse when I was on Chopped. You know, people are always like, "Did you win?" I'm like, "You got to watch." But you at least know I made it to the dessert now, right?
Right.
But that chocolate mousse was part of that. You know, that was one that I pulled out of my sleeve. Which is why if you ever go to Culture and they're out of chocolate mousse, you send me an email and let me know, because they're not allowed to run out of chocolate mousse, because I made it on Chopped in like 15 minutes along with some other stuff. So chocolate mousse is dope. And the deep fried bread pudding is just
I've had it.
That's the quintessential that's my favorite dessert on the planet, because it's kind of like breakfast. It's kind of like dessert.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of savory. It's kind of sweet.
And I've made it gluten free before, which is not
gluten-free
easy.
bread pudding.
Yes,
it's just pudding.
It's just like Udi bread that you just day old.
Makes
unfreeze
sense.
it and just wait a day and then do it. That was
that Udi actually does make some pretty good bread.
Yeah, my mother-in-law has a gluten allergy, and then my wife's grandfather, his favorite thing that I made was bread pudding. Because when I was in Monroe, I cooked for like 4 or 5 years through college, and fry cook and stuff like that. Made gumbo, etouffee, jambalaya, red beans, dirty rice, all that kind of stuff. Fried everything, including fried frog legs and just gator and all that kind of stuff. And we didn't make a lot of desserts, but bread pudding was an easy one to make. Yeah. Fairly easy. I mean, if you just kind of tossed it and then just baked it, and then making the whiskey sauce and all that good stuff.
Oh, it's so versatile.
It's so good.
You pour in some whiskey.
And then you fry it, and then come on now.
Make it with pork fat instead of butter. It's not good. That's super good. That's one of the things that helped me win Coach on.
Well, man, congratulations on being the success you are in Tyler.
We're still gunning.
I know, but man, if anybody ever has a doubt, they can go to your restaurant and test it out, and it'll be validated. We've gone twice recently, and it's been an awesome experience. And of course, you have to visit the Plaid Rabbit, even if you don't drink. You need to go there because you have cocktails.
Dope mocktails.
Yeah, zero alcohol.
They're not replacements. Yes. They're not alcohol replacements. They're not booze replacements. We curate and make mocktails.
Yes.
Every single menu.
The whole thing. I mean, dry January. Of course, we're in February now, but if you're in a dry period and you want to go somewhere, it's a great spot to hit. You've had a bunch of shout outs through this podcast, but I love this last part of it is your opportunity. If you had any influences or anybody that you haven't mentioned, we've mentioned a lot of people though. I mean, you've really done a great job, better than most guests we've had, to recognizing people of influence. But if there's anybody that you want special recognition to, this is the time.
There's a lot. I mean, thank you, obviously. Thank you, East Texas Whiskey Club, for all the opportunities that I've had to cook for you guys, and being privy to so many of the picks that you guys do. It's like I've built up this ridiculous bourbon collection. I can't even call it a collection because I can't keep any of them sealed.
Right.
They're all
it's not a collection.
It's not a collection. It's a canteen at this point. But no, I mean, man, I've already said, Sydney Cook.
Yeah.
When I came home, I hit this absolute low of lows that a lot of veterans hit when they come back home, and I was to the point of where I was about to just absolutely blow my freaking brains out at one point.
Yep.
I tried the cooking thing. I didn't think it was going to work. I left. She drugged me back in kicking and screaming and said, "This is what you need to do with your life." She saved my life.
Wow.
Cindy Cook, Matthew Hoffman, all those cooks that worked for me and with me for all those years where I was learning not to be a crazy son of a bitch.
Right.
It's not that far in recent history when I really kind of worked through a lot of that. Matt McAllister, holy shit, man. Sorry. I only let one slip the entire podcast. But no, Matt McAllister.
Hines.
Jessica Alonso, Martin Hines. Hines Real Estate, Clint Childs.
Those guys were pretty influential.
We didn't even get into all the fishing side of things. All my fishing sponsors, pro stuff, man. All that. That's a whole other thing. We've been going on some good cooking stuff. All my fishing people, thank you for keeping me alive and keeping me occupied in the little bits of spare time that I don't have. My wife, Bailey. Bailey She is the most badass woman that I've ever met in my life. She is a true force in and of herself. She's so talented. More talented than I think she'll ever even realize.
Right.
But, yeah, I'd be nothing without that girl.
Yeah.
You know, she stuck, you know, a lot of people go, you know, because, I mean, dude, Bailey's hot, man. She's good looking. Like, people look at me, the old gray-haired dude, and I got this beautiful blonde-haired wife, and they're like, oh, he must be some sort of sugar daddy or something. I ain't rich. I've never been rich. She has been with me since I was a skivvy cook, scraping away at the first restaurant I was ever a chef at. She has lived with me through the power being off, hunting for change in the cushions for gas money, hungry, you know. She supported me in the years of where I dropped that whole career and went to work for crazy chefs for no money.
Right.
She's worked with me through the stresses of opening Culture ETX and the Plaid Rabbit in a town that has been tough at times.
Yeah.
And a few people that have been very tough on me at times, and it's very tough on her.
Yeah.
To live through that, but she's a rock, man.
Yeah,
like
man.
She's everything. I would be nothing without her. I will not be anything if I ever lost her. So
Right.
Bailey, 100%.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Thank you. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna cry.
You almost did. You almost did. I think you were close.
Yeah. That's all right.
It's a little bit different.
It's okay.
It's a little bit different in person,
Yeah.
right? I've so it's 14. This is episode 14, and I can't tell you how much different it is. 13 episodes in, I've always been okay public speaking.
Yeah,
always.
same. Yeah.
And but like this one was a little bit different because I knew you give off an emotion and an aura that most guests don't, and I feel that, and so I didn't want to match it or anything. I just wanted to live up to that expectation that I knew that I was around.
Yeah.
And so it's absolutely cool. I really appreciate you agreeing to come on.
Yeah.
And so you read an article and you're like, all right, well, this is somebody else's words.
Yeah.
But a podcast, it's your words.
Yeah, for sure.
And you get to tell
they
your
got
story.
they got a lot of it wrong, you know.
Well,
or kind of.
They're going to put their, every editor and
good.
author is going to, put their spin on things, and they're going to, make it sound maybe a little bit more glorified or maybe
gloss it over and make it look a little less abrasive.
Exactly, but
at
I mean,
times.
this is these are your words, and that's why I thought it'd be awesome to have you on, especially with that article coming out so soon. It was a good time to recognize your successes and your restaurant. I mean, it's an awesome time.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's one of those things that a lot of people hear about me online, or they read things, or they do this, and it's like, I made a comment on a post that got shared about me the other day, and I've got like 3 haters out there, and they ran wild on one of them, and I was just like, look, man, like, y'all don't know me, you know of me, or you've heard about me from someone, but this is me, It's like I'm very intense, I'm very passionate,
Right.
I'm very driven, I'm very emotional. I got a big ass heart, man. Like, I do a lot of stuff, and you'll never see me toot my own horn for it. But there's a lot of stuff out there that if people dig, they're like, I feel like I've learned to be a good dude despite all the things that I've been through in my life, and I've been through some pretty crazy things.
Yeah.
One of
my favorite.
It's good to be able to tell it.
My favorite comments is about somebody who had booked an outside seat.
Oh God, yeah. Well, there was bugs outside.
And I'm like,
and it looked like it might rain. And when I inquired, well, if it rains, is there seating inside? No, sir, it's Saturday at 7:30 at night. Every table is literally booked for the next 4 hours. Well, that's unacceptable. Literally says it on the reservation system. Reserve your own risk.
I knew that.
1 star. And how dare you reply to me?
I knew
I'm not that guy.
I didn't mean to set you off so.
Oh, no. It's just like, oh my God. Sometimes it's just like, people have been trained to be that way with restaurants, and I blame that on corporations, and I blame that on the restaurants that live to please everybody. What I do is an expression of me, it's an expression of my life and who I am. It's a slice of me.
Yeah.
That's not meant to be loved or appreciated by everybody. If it doesn't jibe with you, if you don't dig it, if you don't like what I do, that's
all right. This is Spirit Squared, episode 14. Our next guest is Josh Betts from Dead Cat Ranch.
Yes.
Looking forward to that. They do a lot of great stuff with veterans.
Mm-hmm.
They do a lot with youth, and looking forward to talking to him. And we'll see you soon. Thanks so much.